Hi, this is Peter Godinez, your ambassador. We're here with KEYTV.net and Meet the Candidate. And we have the absolute lovely pleasure of being able to interview Steve Huber. So let's get down to it. The people want to hear your voice. Tell us about yourself,
Great.
Steve.
Well, first off, thanks for the opportunity for KEYTV, and I appreciate Meet the Candidate Forum. This is great. So a little bit about myself. I was born in Pennsylvania, a small town, or used to be a small town, just outside of Philadelphia. It's no longer a small town because this company called QVC has moved in. But Westchester is in southeast Pennsylvania, right where the Pennsylvania Dutch country begins. And so that had a lot to do with my bringing up. My father was a retired Navy. He stayed in Westchester after he retired, and he was actually a wastewater treatment plant operator. So I learned community service early on. He went from wastewater treatment plant operator to the public works director of a little township around our town, and my mother was a bookkeeper for the county. So, you know, we're all here to serve, and so I got to watch that as I was growing up. And I went to public school in Westchester. We had a big high school. It actually split in my senior year, so I graduated from, it's called Henderson High School. And then from there, I actually went to college. I was the first in my family to finish college, and I went to the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. And so after that, I started my career and went along and did a lot of leadership opportunities, had all the jobs you could have in the Navy as you work your way up through division officer, department head, executive officer. I had command of a destroyer, and then I was stationed in the Pentagon, and I also had command of the Naval Surface Warfare Center in Port Wayne. We moved 14 times in 30 years, and so we just absolutely fell in love with the Oxnard area, and we moved into Oxnard while I was on active duty and just dropped our anchor, and that's where we're at. So we moved to Oxnard, and we love it there, so that's why we stayed. Could have lived anywhere else in the U.S., but chose Oxnard.
You make good decisions. Going back to high school, to go to Annapolis, you have to have a good amount of extracurricular activity. What were some of the things you did during that time frame, may I ask?
Yeah, absolutely. Annapolis has got a formula where they look at not just your academics, but all your curriculars, and they look for your leadership as well. So I had decent grades. I also played soccer, varsity soccer, and varsity lacrosse. I was a manager of an ice hockey team, the high school ice hockey team, and also the high school gymnastics team. I was an Eagle Scout with Boy Scouts, and I was very involved with our church as well. So all of those together, plus my grades, and I was able to get an appointment and attend the academy, which was only 2 hours from home, so it was a wonderful opportunity. I was laundry distance away, so I was far enough away that my mom didn't have to worry about me coming home on the weekends. It was great.
That was quite a compliment. Congratulations. Now, tell me more about, I'm interested to hear more about your parents. What were some of the values they instilled in you as you were growing up?
Oh, yes, thanks. Yeah, actually, I just want to go back a little bit further to my grandparents. My grandfather, Frank Huber, came over from Germany into Philadelphia and got on what we call a light rail system today, the main line, took that train as far west as he could and found Westchester. So he started the family there in Westchester, started a bakery. The Huber family in Germany were farmers, so his brothers all had pig and steer farms, Angus, in the Pennsylvania area while he had a bakery. My grandmother, actually, her name was Pennypacker. She goes back to England, a pretty long distance. I actually never traced the genealogy, but they both were in Westchester. And so that's where my mom and dad met. My dad went and joined the Navy, and he taught me I was only about 2 years old when he retired, but he taught me that, you know, hard work and stick to it and discipline, and that's how I was able to, you know, I always remember that, is that, you know, you just don't get things easy. You have to work for it and, you know, do your homework and go with that. My mother had a good basically mind for math, so she was a bookkeeper, so I have a technical background as well. At the Naval Academy, I was a oceanography major, it's physics background, so math and science came pretty easy. That was part of the growing up. So I was in a, I grew up in a downtown urban environment, and had a bunch of friends that, we played in the alleys, basketball and football, and just had a great time. And, did a lot of sports. You know, my dad taught me fishing and soccer, and you know, I played lacrosse, like I said, and running, and just anything I could do to get outside, because I had a concrete front lawn, and so I had to go somewhere else. And that's what Boy Scouts did that for me. So it got me out into the outdoors and taught me how to camp and all those fun things.
Wow.
And so it was a lot of fun growing up there.
Lots of positive experiences
Lots
then
of
during that
positive,
time.
yes, it was. So yeah.
I got to ask, just to be going to Annapolis, you see visions. I mean, that first year had to be really tough. Is it true that they make you, you know, eat food a certain way and chew? And tell me just a little bit about how much true that is and how that forms you. Which I'm
Sure. Yeah. The philosophy is that you need to become a leader after you become a follower. So that first year, you learn how to follow. And so you have a lot of discipline things. I don't remember eating square meals like that, but we couldn't touch the back of our chair with our backs. We had to sit on the front 6 inches of the chair, and of course, we had to eat last. We had to make sure that the upper class or our seniors all ate first, so we did all the preparations. And we were up first, and we went to bed last. And so a lot of things to learn how to be a follower. And then once you moved into the upper classes, you became a leader. So sophomore year, you were in charge of a couple of the freshmen called plebes, and then junior year, you were in charge of more, and then senior year, you were in charge of everything.
Wow, what experience.
Yeah.
Was it true you had to run every place you went?
You did. We called it chopping. You had to, the
Chopping?
first year, yeah, you had to run, and then you had to square your corners 90 degrees and say
Wow.
motivational things like, you know, go Navy or beat whoever you're playing in football.
I would never made it.
So-
That's good. Like I said, congratulations. So going from Annapolis, you're ready to go. I mean, it's not
Yes.
like they give you a major that's kind of misty, but you know exactly pretty much what you're going to do. So what was that transition to?
Yeah, very heavy academic load, so mainly you learn time management so that you could do your academics, which was number one. But we also everybody had to participate in a sport, whether it was an intramural or a Division I sport or something like that, so you had that time management. So once we graduated and I became an ensign and I went to ships, we knew how to do time management. And so I was a division officer first, and so we had all kinds of things happening, and you had to be able to prioritize and focus and get things done so that you could take your mission and move ahead, move forward. So it was a very good leading leadership laboratory, and learned a lot, so it was great.
So it's like a different thing where you graduate from a university and then you have to go looking for a career. Your opportunity was, well, you already kind of transitioned into a career, is that correct? So-
Exactly, yeah. Everyone that graduates has a job, whether you go learn to fly or to be a Marine, or I was on a ship, so I went to a ship almost right away, and immediately you're leading people. It's just like we did as I said, you know, as you moved up in rank, you got to lead more and more people. So I was 22 years old, and I was in charge of 15 people's lives.
Wow.
Whether they could go on vacation, liberty, or whether they had to work, their working parties, and then I had to learn how to work with the enlisted chain of command as well, so that, because they were the ones that really, you know, I gave them the vision and the purpose and the motivation, and they got it done. So it was fabulous.
So how long did you do that for? You know, was there a change in career? Was it always within that structure of the military from Annapolis?
I was in the Navy for 29 years.
29 years.
And so I moved from ships, and then I worked in Washington, D.C., and then I went back to ships in San Diego, is where I was home ported. Then I actually went to Norfolk, Virginia, and I had a time at the Naval War College where I got a master's degree, and then I went to have command of a ship, a destroyer, the USS Fife, and then went back to the Pentagon, and then I went back actually I was stationed out here at the Naval Surface Warfare Center in Port Wayne, so
Impressive.
just kept moving up the ladder and
Very
it was
nice.
fun each time, so I
This
just
is a bigger ship, you know, that
just
type of
kept,
thing.
responsibilities get bigger and larger.
Wow.
And leadership.
What was the most amount of people that you actually had responsibility for?
Yes, I had 2,200 people that were under my command when I was at Naval Surface Warfare Center, and we were globally dispersed. We were in every time zone, and I had 5 detachments throughout the United States.
Wow.
So it was an expansive, large area of control, and we had to do some pretty innovative things to be able to get the word out, communicate, make sure that everybody knew which way we're headed.
This was before email and all that stuff, Twitter.
Well, it was an ancient email, but it was, yeah, pretty much.
That's where email actually first started off, I recall, anyways, through the military. So that's so fascinating, but a bit of transition. Where did you find time to find a bride?
Oh,
and, tell us that. I'm
Sure.
interested. I'm sure everybody else will be.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be stationed in Washington, D.C., and I was the aide to an admiral. And that admiral was responsible that year for the Navy Ball. The Navy Ball is a huge event that we have to celebrate the Navy's birthday in October. So I was single, and my wife-to-be was single and a nurse in Washington, D.C., and we met and just, said, hey, how about if we get together the following week? And we were married a year later and been married for 30 years.
So this was the inspiration for Officer and Endowment. Is that true? Let's clarify that.
Not quite. That's a little bit different.
And then you, before the interview, you said you would be blessed with 4 children.
We have 4 children, yes.
How did you manage that in the addition of the thousands of people that you were leading?
Well, you have good opportunities for quality time with the family, and so I tried to make sure that when we were in port, there was quality time, and so had the opportunity to raise 4 wonderful children. They're all adults now out there in the world, the working world, and they're all engineers also, actually.
Really?
They got their brains from their mother, but no, I'm just kidding.
And some athletic ability for you?
Right, so
wow.
They're all out there having some fun. Went to some great schools, and now we're empty nesters and enjoying Oxnard. So.
No grandchildren yet then, huh?
No grandchildren yet.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
First wedding on the way this summer. So.
All right.
Right in the middle of the campaign season.
Life is exciting. So you live this, I'm going to say, this very organized life. You're able to find a bride and have kids, and you're still in Ventura County all this time, right? You probably still do a lot of traveling. So what made you go into politics? When was the first time you ran, and what drove you to make that?
Great question. This is actually the first time that I'm running for an elected office, but I've been on the Oxnard Planning Commission for the last 3 years. And basically, Oxnard Planning Commissioner has to fill out all the same forms that an elected official does. The California 700, we fall under the Brown Act as well for our meetings, so our meetings are run the same as the City Council. So I noticed that there is a difference between being elected and being appointed, but I realized that as an appointed official, I was noticing some things that needed to be changed. And I'm not one to sit back and complain about it. I'm one to take action and get involved. So that's why I'm running for the City of Oxnard City Council. I want to make a difference, and I want to bring some leadership to the city. And so that's how I'm transitioning into an elected position. And look forward to the elections in November, and hopefully I'll be winning one of the 2 seats that are up for election. They're up in the City of Oxnard, the City Council. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell, is how I got into the elected world, and how I'm interested in politics. So I really want to make a difference and bring some leadership to the city, and some innovation, some innovative ideas, some focus, and some efficiency as well to the City of Oxnard.
Very nicely stated. Now comes my 2 favorite, I think, signature questions.
Sure.
And one was, what question would you like to be asked that you think you could just get a home run on? I'm always interested to ask that question.
It's interesting. There's a ton of different questions. I've been in leadership positions, and so any number of questions could be asked. But I think one of the most interesting questions is, tell me about a mistake you made, and what did you learn from it, and what did you do about it? So that's one of the questions that most people don't ask that question.
Well, you stated it better than I did, so you can now answer it.
Sure. When I was the commanding officer at the Naval Surface Warfare Center, we had been buying water in a jug. And I looked at the consumer confidence report of the City of Oxnard's water. That's where we got our water. And I said, hey, we're exceeding federal standards. Why are we buying water? And they said, well, sir, we probably shouldn't be buying water. So I said, well, what do we have to do? So we turned ourselves in, because we were using taxpayers' money to buy water, and it's called the Anti-Deficiency Act. And what I didn't do very well was communicate to the workforce that this was a bad thing, we have to stop it, it's the right thing to do, and this is what we're going to do so it's better for you. And so what we did was we got chillers and heaters, so they still got cold water and hot water. It wasn't in the spark, the